Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon. Mud Flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they are willing to debate you without fisticuffs in a fair and honest way. Big news. You do your first day of school, you get your classes all settled in. The Lord works in mysterious ways again and again. So I'm excited. Let's check it out. Let's see where we're going to go. First off, hello, Victoria. Check this out. Oh, this isn't a big deal, but we got to see it. Hopefully, I'm sharing. Looks like I'm sharing. So I'm going to be showing some other videos, filling in people. Victoria, did you hear? I did my first day of school today. And I'm pretty excited about it. Wait till you see what we got going here. I wanted to start here. Monday's rare super blue moon. Super blue moon. It's a confounding statistical marvel. It's today. Today is the blue moon, the super blue moon. This is from NASA. NASA. Sunday evening, August 18th. And with they're doing this time zone thing of, you know, it's going to go here. Mercury's passing between Earth and the Sun, as seen from the Sun, called inferior conjunction. Mercury will be shifting from the evening sky to the morning sky and will begin emerging from the glow of dawn on the east-northeastern horizon at the end of August. Oh, is it happening the full moon? Well, as mentioned above. This was vague. The full moon is going to be Monday afternoon. Okay, so we just missed it. We just missed it. This will be Tuesday morning, Nepal Standard Time. That's how they try to throw this off, throw you off. What happened on April 19th? What happened on April 20th? What happened on December 7th? And what did they declare happened on December 8th? When it was the same attack, when they attacked the Philippines and they played that time zone thing and they acted like, how could General MacArthur expect to know? He wouldn't. It was a surprise attack. That's a segue. The Maine Farmer's Almanac began publishing Indian names. Again, this is from the NASA thing. For full moons in the 1930s. There's that whole 1930 thing. Isn't that getting so suspicious? Things change, but not that fast. And these names have been widely known: red moon, corn moon, green corn moon, barley corn moon. No, just barley moon. Herb moon. Uh-huh. Okay. Between grain moon and herb moon, where do you think I'm gonna end up? I just can't do that grain. I don't know if that's a sacred alcohol or not. I don't know. Dog moon. What? Don't segue me. So here's the big deal. All right. As it appears from the earth, I suppose you've got some opinions on that. You'd like to hear it, like me to hear them or share them with Victoria. That'd be nice. Because I know that she's not buying this. Look at this picture. What? Come on, man. Don't give me an apology with your apogee. My pedigree does not allow your peregree to be worth 2 cents of used salt, and that's wet or something. I don't know. Used salt. That's the worst. All right. So what you're going to see here is Michael Shane. Okay, everybody knows I'm into these old movies, man. It ain't even in color. They just colorize it to make you think it's in color. 1, 2, 3. There's 7. 7 movies over 8 hours because that's just the way they did it. Click play. Oh, this is a picture. And the object lesson is that of all 8 hours, we've got here is a few minutes, and I'll probably skip it. But first, here's your introduction to Michael Shane, private detective, and this is how they party in 1942 in America. In America. Why didn't it play? Oh, it's this thing, huh?
To encourage it. Lend me another 500.
I wouldn't if I were you, Grange. Good evening, Miss Brighton.
Oh, look, it's the red knight.
How that is, smell it. It's good, I know. I didn't buy it.
Thank you. Hello, Bill.
Oh, Mike.
You're a little off your beat, aren't you? What are you doing here?
I'm watching the theater entrance of Lathrop's department.
Yeah, so he's a cop. He's done eating donuts, so he's just hanging out at the what they call this, a burlesque theater where the main star, his girlfriend works there, and so here's an old joke, and I don't even know what it means, but how do you tell when there's been a officer down in Chicago? Well, the donut rolls out of his hand.
Well, now, just keep your shirts off, girls. By the time that curtain...
Did he just say, now keep your shirts off, girls? Is that how girls dress? And this is his girlfriend. She just wants to get married. But look how they dress in the 1942s. And I don't know how far we are into the 7-hour stretch, but we've already gone through a whole movie. Not one black face. The next scene is going to be the first black faces you see, I think.
Rings down tonight, Joan and I'll be tied tighter in a snare drum. Yes.
Better grab him, Jones, or he gets away.
Oh, hello, honey.
Well, what happened and make it good?
Not...
Got you all to myself. Now we're on our own. It's all like pulling a tree out of a hat. My lucky day is here. No one else is near. And it seems that
we may recognize the man on the right as a famous played Birmingham in, I don't know, dozen of those Charlie Chan movies. Now, Birmingham could drive a cab, but in this whole thing of the 1940s, there's no black. They show cab drivers, but there's no black cab drivers. Get it?
Here I got you all to myself, and I mean all to myself. 'Cause now at last I got you.
And so this basic scene here, is now he's tricked them in. Do you want to make $5? And they go like, $5, let's go. And you'll hear how they talk. And they had to talk this way. All the movies, even in the 30s and the 40s, if you were going to be on TV and be a black person or go to the movies, you had to talk this way because we had the one drop rule. We were a very racist country. So he's already scared because this guy going to give him $5 a piece, and they broke into somebody's apartment, and they're still tagging along because they didn't want to go, but he's going like, come on, don't quit being nervous.
Hey, Rusty, I want you to get me one of those rifles off the wall.
The bodies ain't in there, is they?
Oh, they've been sent down the morgue. Go on.
So he's scared. You got to open your eyes as wide as you can.
You aren't nervous, are you?
No, sir. But every time I take a step, one knee says to the other, get out of my way and let me pass.
Hey, Rusty, give it here. Now, pull the curtains on the windows and light the candles on that table.
What for, boss?
That's to get you in the mood for acting.
He's already what for, boss? He's just get broke into a house for $5. Oh, yeah, I'll get you a rifle. Whoa, yeah, okay. Now let's talk to the other guy.
The murder that was committed here last night.
Huh?
And you wanted to act, didn't you?
I would have to open my big mouth. I just thought of something I have to do down the theater.
Wait a minute. You're not scared too, are you?
I'm not exactly scared, but my underwear is peeping up on me.
Come on.
Crazy, right?
Sit down there, Sam. Oh, that's a good boy. Now, Rusty, you sit down
That's
there
a
and rest
good
your eyes.
boy. So the whole thing in this, the only reason they're using blacks is because
Relax,
he needs to
will you?
break
You ought
into
to feel
this
happy.
house
It's the easiest $5 you ever picked up.
and
Elucidate me, will you,
prove
boss?
to
What am I
himself.
sitting
Oh
here
man,
for?
I missed him say elucidate me. So he's figuring out the crime, and then there's no more blacks in this movie.
Relax, will you? You ought to feel happy. It's the easiest $5 you ever picked up.
Elucidate me, will you, boss? What am I sitting here for?
Lathrop was shot in that chair. Now, Lathrop's dead. He can't hurt you.
I can feel it.
Do you see it? Look at that. That's special effects, man. Back in the day, in 1942, they were trying to show you how just a mere mention of a ghost, even though this guy's going to tell him it's scientifically proven it's not a ghost. He thinks it is. So look at his eyes.
This ghost is still in here.
You don't believe in ghosts, do you?
Yes, sir, I do.
Oh, you're crazy. Science has proven there's no such thing. The regeneration of life in this world has been entirely discredited.
I still do.
Look at that candle. You see?
There's a gun underneath the candle, but he can't see it. He's too busy.
You can see the gun.
Gun? What gun?
The gun that's pointing at your head.
Wow. Now take it easy.
Where were we in 1942? How long ago
Now,
of a reset? How
I'm
come
gonna
our
show
parents?
you
How come
boys
we didn't notice
how one
this?
person can
With
kill
the
two
added
birds
1,000
simultaneously.
years, the everything.
You won't kill me for
You know, you're gonna.
$5, is you?
I guess it's okay to treat people like this if you're training them for acting for $5, and you know, at the end of it, you laugh and go, "Here's your money, you big dummies."
Look. Now, the murderer stood here with a revolver in his right hand. And with his left, he fired the rifle by pulling this wand. It's very simple, isn't it? Now, are there any more questions you boys would like to ask?
When can I get out of here?
That's all for the matinee. You can go right now. Hey, wait a minute. You forgot your $5. You'll never get rich that way.
Boss, right now I can make myself a fortune. Hide myself out as a vibrator.
Higher, I know how I can make myself a
Publicity,
fortune.
is that understood?
He said, he's so scared that he knows how he can make a fortune.
Boss, right now I can make myself a fortune. Hide myself out as a vibrator.
Yeah, you know, they pass this for adult humor.
Publicity, is that understood?
Check. Yes, sir.
Another movie just to set the pace.
Good morning. The manager ain't here today. I was taking charge.
Well, this is the telephone company, Vanderhoff, and phone out of order.
You is on a wild goose chase, mister. The only thing that's wrong with that phone is the service is done cut off.
What's the matter? Didn't he pay his bills?
Oh, he done paid his bills regular. Mr. Vanderheaven was one fine gentleman. I feels very sad to see him leave.
Hey, when's he going?
He's done gone. He bid me farewell and so long early this morning. Here they is now, coming for his trunk.
Well, that's convenient. He can just hop in and take a ride.
Vanderhoffen's trunk?
Right there it is, mister. Be careful. It's loaded. Something solid.
We're just looking at the pictures. We're getting warmed up here.
Thanks
Now,
very
come on, a
much.
couple more
You're
minutes.
welcome.
Say, you boys going downtown?
Okay.
Yeah.
So there it is. They got 7 minutes of 30 seconds in 8 hours from 1942. I'm just saying this. I wish somebody else would look into it because, you know, I know racism is a worn out thing, but what if it was so true and even worse than we can imagine? How about that? Oh, okay. So we're going to look at some of this today, huh? All right. So this is what they're going to do when you get these autoimmune diseases. Your skin's going to not. It's going to fall off. So there's your thumbnail. We'll see where we got this. Yeah, this is what This is what they're working on now in your DNA and things like that. Surprise! Oh, that's from this afternoon or yesterday or something. That means we're done. We're done. Oh my goodness! I am so happy to see my favorite women here, along with Luther the Truther. You know him as my good friend Yas Wills Soaring. Good to see you guys. Let's check out these things here. I got remember to take those off. Okay, I told. Oh, this isn't the one I told you so. This is the one I feel sorry for everybody, you know. And Roger Spur feels sorry for him too. And who wouldn't feel sorry? Because it's not only the families on the military base. I'm sure this water was meant to kill, the mostly semi-indigenous Japanese that live there now. Did you hear about this? Happened today.
Destroyed by fuel in their water system, up to 350 times more jet fuel in their water system than is allowed. And it is heartbreaking. I had the most terrible time doing this morning. I couldn't keep from crying. I couldn't keep from crying. This is just, and we may be able to help. And nobody will listen to what can possibly help these people that are in desperate medical conditions. See, ingesting any of these hydrocarbons, that there's two main situations. Poison to the digestive tract and bloodstream, yes. Poison to the lungs and nervous system, yes. Why? Poison to all these things. Because it's killing the digestive juices and enzymes that produce the products in all of these areas of your body. So you're going to have damage to all kinds of things. Now, your body may be able to bring back some of that bacteria, but in most cases, young kids, they don't come back because they don't have the beneficial bacteria built in them yet.
And again, I don't give medical advice, and Roger doesn't either.
Because they're going to be invaded now. They don't have the immune. Otherwise, it's total malfeasance, additional malfeasance, not just what they did originally. Tools here they are.
I'm just saying, is this that full moon? No, come on. I don't know. Do you? For sure? I know everything is in the. He's got the whole world.
Produce enzymes. Better said, bacteria are the factories that produce the enzymes. You don't have the bacteria.
Man, that's what I've been telling you, man. Good. Welcome to the party.
Cancer research. All we need is a very small, less than 1% of that.
We lose, Roger. They win. So I've also warned about the home insurance time bomb that started February 6th. Localized, prophesied by Do Re Mi, that where the El Nino hit with its atmospheric storm that year that caused a massive flooding would be the throne of Satan. And it did hit Laurel Canyon, Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills. So we're out of money, I guess. And I thought I had some statistics in the pictures where I could have read, that Florida homeowners just, 10,000. They can't afford it anymore. It's 10,000. A couple of years ago, it was 2,300. That's the national average. So, is there a tipping point? Yeah, right. It already had quadrupled from 2018 to 2023. So all of these statistics are based on from when it's already tipping point. There's that one Bible verse those guys were talking about the other day. They said, all the fullness of the Godhead dwells bodily. Well, it sure looks like it's that S on the end there means singular. Whatever they're talking about. Hey, welcome, Vara. Feel free
Hey,
to Feel free to add any questions or anything, but I got a few things I got to go over here first, okay? But
All
how you
right,
been?
man.
How you been?
All is well. How you doing, my old friend?
You're looking good.
You too,
Yeah,
man.
Randy's finishing off all his vacationing and things like that. I just got started with school, a little drama there, but we're going to add, I'll give some more information and everything. Right. When Dana, my good friend, you're a good man. And when he around to flat earth and realizes that that's not a joke, I think that's going to be Roger's big step. I know. I know. Anyway,
Well,
here we
what
go.
you been doing all summer, man?
Well, here I'm going to just get into some of that. You're going to find out. But,
All right.
suffice it to say, remember the mini bike accident?
Mm-hmm.
And I had all these plans to go to this town, that town, and report from there. As it turns out, if I would have done that, I would not be able to have been stayed in school and locked in for this year. Oh, it's interesting
Oh,
here. Yeah,
all
so
right.
we'll get
So
there.
I thought it was the devil that did that to you, but apparently not.
Apparently, God works things out for good. So here,
I kid.
the 1970 again, here's when they basically said, we've got the world figured out. And they figured it out from, World War II and on. Now, I don't know if we can go over the video, but when you're focused on war producing, they made over 100 million maps. So I'm basically saying they mapped the world. They didn't even know what the hell, anything looked like that they could put in their GPSs. That when I was a surveyor in the 82nd Airborne, I was in that. Oh no, I was in the 17th Airborne Support by the time that the PADS, Parallel Azimuth Direction System, came out. They call it GPS now. But yeah, I was living there working on that in the 100 million maps. When I'm questioning everything, because some of the things that I heard, it was up to 300 million in that video. I don't know. But that's when they did this too, whatever this is. Everybody always talks about it, and I studied it before. Do you know anything about it, Vara?
They call it that good old Mountain Dew. You know that song? And those who refuse
That's
it are
not it. I know
few.
enough to know that what we're looking at is not that. This is something they had after World War II, or they built during World War II. There it is. It's that's their equipment palette. Okay. So I think it's fake. Fake is all get out.
I'll shut up my mug if you fill up my jug with the good old Mountain Dew.
Yahoo! That's what they get. They made
Yeehaw!
Mountain Dew turn green. The base 63 line, as I like to call it, reached operational status right before that year, right before I showed you that, when everybody had to take a sworn affidavit and swear an oath that the United States hasn't been taken over by force or coercion, or they didn't get paid. All right, I'm still worried about or correlate these PFAS and everything else. It's not only, I just left this up and I didn't know that Roger Spur was going to break the news about what was happening in Pearl Harbor. Hats off to him. I was in school. Okay. So as you can see, I had to make a $2,500 payment today, or I wouldn't be in school. Crazy. Isn't that crazy? So anyway, I know I'm going to be in school. So I'm motivated. I'm studying this stuff. I'm going to make the hearts work. The hearts are crying out. I know why God, and honestly, let's face it, you and everyone else is are always asking, why does God always come through for this guy when he's such a knucklehead? And I always ask the same thing. But the fact is, I'm his little Paco, and this is gonna get done. I don't know what I did wrong, but two of the classes that I went to, one was supposed to be a creative writing class, and it turns out to be another freaking history class. The one from my advisor, Dr. Lubrick, that I had to get permission to go into was supposed to be a fourth year level constitution. Instead, I'm in a second year history class, and then along with my sculpture. But I'm glad to be here studying this stuff, and I'm ready to go. But I was ready to take that creative writing class and tie in the book I wrote in 2008 that predicted that there was a world that hid from viruses. And when they came out, they decided to break it to them gently by releasing the information. You can ask Ella. She read the book. I imagine maybe a couple of other people have read it. They were here. So I'm all worked up. And so I wanted to show you some of these things, just some of these lectures, because it's really not that hard. You know,
I hope it'll be worth the money, man. That's all I'll say.
yeah. Where else? Basically, it's a scholarship. All I have to do is come up with my rent money. And I didn't know that. And the thing is that with all the trouble of them putting me in jail last year and finding out, like, oh my goodness, I was working it out with the DA, and you know, they're just being super nice to me now. And so they let it slide. And they would have probably let me make payments, but this way, since I could drop the 2,500 on them, I'm going to sell that mini bike, and another guy's offered me $800 for it. I'll have this whole deal paid off, and my rent. Oh my gosh, I think on my Social Security I can handle $675 a month for the next school year, or actually the next 3 school years, Lord willing. I hope. Because
Right,
all
right.
this is a place where I can have a studio, work on the stones in a safe place with an art studio instead of my front room or the bus that I did for 4 years. The drawbacks is I'm 7,500 feet in the air, and it gets down to 20 below in the winter every night. So that's it,
Oh yeah.
but
You
you
got a
know
lot
the
of
deal,
challenges.
right? And so here,
to that receptor. So when the ligand comes along and binds
just a little
to
bit
it,
about
it activates a
homeostasis, what
cascade of
keeps
events
you
that take
alive.
place internally in the cell. Enzymes. You'll see that many different types of cells are going to have enzymes embedded in the membranes, and as you guys know, enzymes help to catalyze
I'm going to
chemical
put
reactions.
the closed captions on Dr. Sullivan. Is it too loud?
So in one of the examples here, which we have, one of the enzymes is integral, and this one, in this example here, is actually facing outward outside the cell. And this is actually a classic example of an enzyme that faces
No
Turn
closed
it off
captions.
and turn it on again.
where the intestines help with digestion.
Hey, it's
So in
open,
this
I
example,
think.
you have lactose.
Oh, okay, let me go get
Okay,
it.
so lactose will bind to this enzyme on the surface of these cells, and that enzyme will
I'm going to go
cleave
get
it
the door.
into its products, right, glucose and galactose, so that it can be absorbed by the cells. So that's an enzymatic reaction that's occurring right on the surface of the cell by an enzyme that's embedded in the membrane of some of those cells. Which, of course, if somebody's lactose intolerant, they may not actually have those enzymes to be able to carry that out. Linkers. Linker proteins, well, they're as their function suggests, they link cells together. Okay, so they could actually play a vital role in keeping cells adhered to one another, particularly in, like, say, epithelium, like your skin, for example. These cells have to keep bound to each other, otherwise they would fall off and fall apart. Okay, so it helps to keep cells together. It also links cytoskeletal components within the cell itself. Okay, it helps to kind of anchor them. It helps form their shape. Glycoproteins. Glycoproteins, these are sugars bound to the protein. So one of the classic roles for them would be something like cell identity or a marker, like a major histocompatibility protein, which you see here is MHC. This is, as I mentioned earlier, is so that the cell can mark itself as being part of you, self, right? So it's a self-identifier and helps to let our immune system know that it's not foreign. Okay, so one thing I like to do is with all the basic science that you guys are learning is to kind of step back and look at it from a clinical perspective, so you guys can see how this, what you're learning, how it pertains to what you guys want to do. So, for example, loss of anchoring membrane proteins. There's a disease called pemphigus vulgaris. Okay, this is an autoimmune disease that actually attacks cell junction
Sounds
proteins,
vulgar.
specifically ones known as desmosomes. Now, as you recall, those linker proteins, which I just spoke about, they help to keep cells connected to one another. And in the skin, for example, that can be particularly important to make sure that the skin stays attached and cohesive and it stays anchored to your body.
Say his name and he appears.
Those proteins.
Did you hear your name, Vara?
Okay, lose the ability
Yeah,
to adhere cells together.
My good friend,
I know.
Joaquin is in the house. He's the guy that after I got out of jail helped me finish my ceramics, or I wouldn't have gotten a C. That's right, I got a C, but I wouldn't have got it without Joaquin who helped me to do the ceramics. And he's learned, a lot about, he's very patient, with the fact that, oh, you think you're a prophet? Yeah, kind of, and stuff like that. And he's dating this girl that's like a super genius, and he also is like a scholarship athlete. At least he used to be, but his his knee, it's the knees, it's the knee, right? It was the knee. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones usually give out even at early age now, for most people.
I'm gonna just hold on, everybody. I want you to show you this one other thing. Now I'm gonna skip this because I want to see your opinion and everybody that I trust opinion in here. Now, Jason Jack is, I think, turning it around. He's getting away, as even somebody else explained here. Shelley's channel is you're explaining it better. He is doing them so much better. I mean, I don't know if he's where he's at on the Trinity and stuff. And I agreed with everything he said for the first 21 minutes. I'm pretty sure. Now, is he saying that the 144,000 are witnessing to people in the millennial reign? Because why would they need to be witnessed to? They just saw what happened.
Ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. This is the 144,000, the 12 tribes of Israel. This chosen generation that were sealed in their foreheads prior to the trumpet and vial judgment. They were saved. They had mortal salvation through these judgments and went on as mortal believers for the establishment of the good news of Jesus Christ. There were remnants throughout the civilization that did not perish from these judgments. And this is who the 144,000, the resurrected saints, went out to tell and proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ and to establish this millennial reign. They were a chosen generation, just like the Israelites were prior to the cross. After this chosen generation, a royal priesthood, just like we saw.
All right, so
in
I am going to
Revelation.
I think I heard it again, and I think he is saying that the 140, and I'm going to I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm just going to let him stew on this and think about it. Let's hear it again.
Mortal salvation through these judgments and went on as mortal believers for the establishment of the good news of Jesus Christ. There were remnants throughout the civilization that did not perish from these judgments. And this is who the 144,000, the resurrected saints, went out to tell and proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ and to establish this.
Well, you know what? I'm willing to let RJ take a look at that and see how he wants to approach it. Okay. So you had lesson 1, homeostasis. What is homeostasis?
Help to keep cells connected to one another. And in the skin, for example, that can be particularly important to make sure that the skin stays attached and cohesive and it stays anchored to your body. And so if your immune system is attacking those proteins, okay, and you lose the ability to actually adhere cells together, you could actually lose your epidermal layer of your skin. And clinically, you might see signs like this.
When he says critically, that's not good.
Sign. Now, this is not specific at all to pemphigus vulgaris. There's other conditions that can cause this. But what happens is you can actually gently rub your finger across.
I think they're doing this to people, This is something that's happening now.
And here's the concentration. And again, the concentration is...
And remember what I teach and what I think, that the liquids that are inside you when the glittering sword hits, if you've been purified, they turn to the gemstones. The Bible says you can build up gold, silver, and precious stones by doing the good works assigned to you before the foundation of the world. You're not saved by doing those good works. You're doing them whether you suffer or not, because you have a burning desire to emulate your adopted big brother, Jesus Christ, who so pleased the Father, metaphorically, symbolically, literally, past, present, and future. Let's check out this lecture 2, because, I only had so much time, and they're coming after your gut. You know it.
The next layer,
I know
once
it,
we get past
and
the
American
mucosa,
people
is
know it.
submucosa, which is under the mucosa. And in the submucosa, that's where we see a lot of the, the larger blood vessels that are traveling through the digestive tract, our lymphatics and, veins and arteries and so on, as well as a lot of our nerves. The muscularis mucosa, the muscularis externa. So muscularis externa, right here, that's the thickness right here, from here to here. Okay. So that muscularis externa is a much thicker layer than the muscularis mucosa that I just spoke about. The muscularis externa, for the most part, is very similar into the GI tract there with the myocardial plexus as well as the submucosal plexus would actually carry out a lot of the activity. So what happens is the sympathetic and parasympathetic modulate its activity. It's similar to what you see in the heart, where you could disconnect them and the heart continues to beat, but we need the sympathetic and parasympathetic to modulate its activity.
You ready for tomorrow?
So again, there's the submucosal, which is sometimes referred to as the Meissner plexus. Okay. And again, that controls glandular secretions and absorptions, which makes sense given its location in the submucosa there. And it also controls local contraction of the submucosal muscle. All right, and of course blood flow, since the submucosa has a lot of the larger blood vessels.
Because I have 2 classes.
The myenteric,
I only have 1 class on Friday at 2:30.
Plexus also has these nerve fibers that run between the longitudinal and circular muscle layers, and that helps to control.
All right, so sweat, stretch, and eat organic. And once again, when you see these things break out like that, you're basically looking at what some people call a tree. All right, I'm going to move it along here now. Oh my goodness, can I make this work? All right, so here we go. What are this going to pay off? And look at a heart. this Dan Winter. He's all about the Kabbalah. But if you look at the Kabbalah, it don't take their like, oh, it's in you, and realize it all pointed to Jesus Christ, and he really did everything he said he would, and used all of these terms like phi, golden ratios. It's his vibration is that perfect thing in the world that does that creating and whatnot. So, and the difference is they call it gravity with the big G. We call it just by the frequency. It's held together.
Well, it's energy, right?
What does vibration? I know it causes light, and it must cause energy. You can but stand in front of a speaker. I mean, I was at a band the other day, and they had it up. You can feel your heart pumping. So
Well, I mean, it's like just saying energy holds everything together. What
something
she
holds
said.
everything together. Yeah. They say it is self-similar or fractal, non-destructively collapsible charge. Is that the cause of gravity? They've suggested this hypothesis. I don't know why. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. Let's see. And so we got some pictures here. And so these geniuses, they don't like the Bible. They got the unified field physics and conscious faculty. They're not into quantum physics. So I kind of, I look at their stuff. I mean, it's the same stuff we show. Resonances and hey, everybody, say hello to Ella Rose. How's your father? I hope everything's okay.
G'day, how you going? Yeah, best as it can be. Yeah.
Good deal.
How's it going? You really got me interested with your topic you're talking about, and yeah, I've been looking into this. I've got a lot of really bad nerve damage, and all our food supply, everything is aimed at damaging our cells, our gut lining, to get through the blood-brain barrier. Yeah. Do you know
You've
what I
got
mean?
to, there's something that everybody knows, Ella, that there's a wireless connection between this brain and there's the brain in our gut. We just haven't. I can't track it down, and everybody knows there's that feeling in your gut. It's there.
Yeah.
Your gut lining, and maybe Luther remembers that exclusion zone when we studied the water and everything. There, you need everything working together. I'm thrilled to have someone from Finland and from a good friend from Australia. Just absolutely,
Thanks, brother.
What a great day. Let's
Hey, Victoria.
just jump in, and if you see anything weird, because there's this one. I just want to kind of scroll through this stuff and just show you. They have their version. It's chance, it's random gravity or something. We have the same argument with, well, it's could be the vibration, and that's what's
I've always
on my
said
heart.
this. Yeah.
That's the deal. Is what's coming, Ella. Is that's what's written on my heart. We know they won the culture war. They got the abortions everywhere, left and right. And the only thing is that, okay, you won the culture war. That doesn't mean you get to kill us now. Because I think that's what's coming. They're going to go like,
oh yeah, look at the last 300 years. Come on, we've had a pandemic, and then those people died off, and then they sent the ones that survived off to war. Like, come on, and I've always said it's got to do with frequency, vibrations, all that, and like electricity. I think gravity is the electricity, the voltage. As you get closer to the Earth, like the voltage changes. So the higher up you go, you have a different voltage. So I think it's like a piezoelectric sort of thing happening with the toroidal field that's happening with the Earth. That's the electricity pushing down, and I think that's what gravity is. But yeah, they've dumbed everything down on us. Hey, like,
when you just said that, I don't know. When you said it's hydroelectric as it moves in the air. But as I'm thinking, as I compared just the other night, that what we call ether is that he divided water from water. If he wants to call ether, it's still water. We know there's something there.
Correct.
The birds act like they're fish.
Yep.
You know, when they
Correct.
swim and cut those cookies and do what they do, that's pretty fish-like. They're swimming in something.
And it's like the word death, right? You look at the word death and ether, you got ETH. It's like the two words converge. Do you know
What's
what I
the
mean?
first word?
Like death, like death has ether in it as well, so death might be just an illusion of the mind. Do you know what I mean? Like,
What's really
the-
death? I mean, like if like, okay, there's a stalk of corn, you cut it down and the seeds die and fall into the ground, it grows again. I mean, does anything ever really die?
that's what I'm questioning, and yeah.
I die every night. I go to sleep. Personally, that's what the way I see things
Ooh,
and
okay.
experience it.
All right,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, well, now we're going to have to define terms. Here, let's look at this one.
Okay.
This one seems a little bit more like
Yeah. This is
easier
the
to
way
read.
it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what they call gravity. Now, RJ. We're going to have to call it something else. The Bible doesn't call it gravity. Whatever it is, it's him.
Yeah.
It's him.
It's the source.
Don't
And if you look at the chart at the moment with the Schumann frequency, it has been going off for the last 4 years, like since they started jabbing everyone. Like they're turning the body into a computer. It's coming out more publicly. They're using synthetic brains, like brains they've created in the lab for computer, because it's uses less power. They can store more data in a brain. So it's pretty freaky stuff that's coming out now with all these patterns. And I've shared a lot of these patterns on Twitter where, they're actually using the body with turning it into like electrical sensors and all that kind of stuff. I'll have a look up on my screenshots, but you keep going.
You must have been using the Twitter more and more now, huh?
Yeah, I'm over YouTube. I really am. I'm sick of the censorship, and I've actually been working on healing my family with our generational trauma. I've looked at it, and I think I've helped as many people as I can. But I'm looking at it as the point when I got that attack a few years ago, that made me sit back and think God was telling me something. Like God was saying, "Hey, time's short. You're
No,
the black
Greg
sheep of
raised
the
his
family."
dirty, filthy head the other day. A couple of months ago, he stuck his head out of the wherever slime he was.
Oh, that poor bloke is still stuck in that shit, and the Jews
Yeah,
and the funny
it's
thing is the Jews
heartbreaking.
created this Paul thing, right? The Jews created it
He's
in the
the only guy
1800s.
that I talk negative about like that, because on the
Yeah.
air I've said I think he's the Judas of the whole
Oh,
Golden Age
yeah.
fast movement.
And like the Jews created they created this friction with Paul because they were losing people with the Noahide tithing and all that kind of stuff. They were losing people at the synagogue. They were losing big time. So that's why they created this anti-Paul thing in the 1800s, and they tried again in 1924 by two Russian professors, and then again in 1972 another document was published from Israel and Russia, and these were anti-Paul things. So I've always said to Greg, who started this Paul stuff? Who is the one that started? Who look at where the information comes from. And the poor bloke is so pig-headed, and I'm sad because these people, I don't want them to be left behind, and I don't want to be left behind for not helping them. Morgan has changed. He apologized to me, and he felt bad for what he's done to you. Morgan admitted he was wrong, he fucked up, and he shouldn't have spoken about my family or me like that or anything like that, the way my back is or anything. Like, he felt really bad. I've always kept everyone in my prayers, but people, time is short. Like, you really, really got to work on yourself, your family. Like I said, there's a generational curse in my family, big time. And instead of sitting there saying, "Why am I the black sheep? Why me?" I'm working on removing these curses because I can't keep letting it happen. Like, I can see it's happening, and it stops with me. I'm not going to let these curses keep going. I'm being attacked left, right, and center. You got no idea the shit I've been through.
Ella Rose, did you notice I typed in the whatever you said it was? I typed in like 1924 weird stuff.
Yeah.
Look at
1924
this
was when
guy's
this.
pole vaulting over something, that
Yeah.
looks like it belongs in Rome. And they were, in
Yep.
1924, the girl I dated in high school in 1976 could beat that record. And
But
she
yeah, there's
went to state for the long jump too.
a lot of dodgy shit going on, you know. Like even now, the United Nations are saying they're going to a 13-month calendar, and there's another zodiac. Like it feels like we've had a big timeline shift since July. It's massive, you know. Like it's like the deep state are trying to throw everything they've got at us, and you know, like a war is coming. Like the way people are talking in your country, I've been praying for your country every day, man. Like I'm just praying, like with the way people talk about revolutions lead to civil wars. The civil war leads to martial law, and that will take your constitution. Like I've just been praying for you guys. I don't want you guys to go through what we've been through. You know, like
Oh,
I
you
love
got
when people say this.
and New Zealand. New
Yeah,
Zealand
yeah, and I
is
love
the
when people say there's
same
no
with
guns in Australia. I say get
Outback
fucked.
John and everybody.
Yeah,
They are they are gaslighting every
yep,
single one of my
yep,
everybody I know.
yep. Like I remember being charged with a knife when I was a kid, right? And yet there are kids running around with knives on the street, left, right, and center with machetes. Like, why aren't these kids being charged? Like, the streets are just scary. That like the criminals have the guns. Like, I laugh when people say we have no guns. I said, you're joking. There are guns out in the street every day. There are shootings, and they're like, oh no way, man. I'm like, yeah, you know, we have guns. Like, yeah. But I've been looking up sensor nodes and relay nodes of what they're doing, and it's called efficient hybrid fault management clustering algorithm. It's called HFMCA and the WBANS based on the weight bipartite graph. So it's a wireless body area network has been adopted extensively in academic and industrial research and development in recent years. WBANS promised to provide suitable environment remote pattern monitoring and enable caregivers to intervene in cases of abnormal health. So basically, they're saying they can monitor your health remotely. You know, they're admitting this shit.
Oh,
They're
that's
admitting it.
exactly what I've signed up for.
You
Yeah,
know, they're
I
admitting
didn't
it.
vote for that.
You know, like they're admitting all this shit. Like with the breakdown of that act in 1984 with the you know the three-letter agencies in America,
Wow,
that is huge.
1924 was another one of those super weird years.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, and that's the year that
Super
Paul shit
weird.
come out. Like I
Man,
researched extensively on when this Paul stuff started, and it started mainly in 1924. There was a little bit mentioned in the 1870s,
huh?
1800s. There was a little bit, but
Well,
mostly
you
it was
know
1924.
shit.
Yeah. It was two
Oh,
professors,
and
and
now that one's no longer available.
it was two
They
professors
left
and
the artifact. This is a
wow,
picture of when they were first doing the polls.
wow.
Isn't that what it said?
Well, I
Uh,
saw one on
North and
Nixon.
South polar charts from the
Arctic.
Arctic
Wow.
1924. So they were. These are, but you can't go to the website.
Mm. I saw a in the Nixon's plane they had a picture of the world up and it showed all the other lands beyond Australia and Antarctica and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not ready to buy that yet.
Mm.
It's just like the is the moon a reflection? You know, I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
one of those things that I'm leaving up in the air.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
pretty sold on 1924 being weird as all get out. That's the
yeah,
new
I mean,
word,
yeah,
weird.
I mean, so much stuff happened, and even in Australia, like 1924 was the year when all the tax laws were brought in, you know, because it was a temporary tax that they brought in for the war effort that it needed to be done to fight the war, because they'd been in the Boer War and all that kind of stuff, and you know, Australia had no money; it was a new federation. So yeah, so much shit happened in Australia in 1924 as well.
Wow. So let's see where we are. We got that. We got this. Notice how this was a heart too.
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah,
coming to either because vibrations, I think, cause all of that vortex,
yep,
Taurus and Lima battery powered operated humans that I'm talking
yep.
about, you
Yep.
know?
Hey,
But I
here's a
did
fun fact. Hey, listen, I'll give you a fun fact. Do you know cats do not have any hip dysplasia issues or any tendon and joint issues, right? And they've done studies on it, and they reckon it is because of the frequency and the resonancy of the purring. The cats are always purring, and that purr heals the body. So when you're injured, like I noticed with my cat, when my back's really hurting, like this winter, the cat was literally jumping and laying on my back. And you know it felt better after the cat laid there for 10 minutes. It's like they heal, it's like they know, and it's the frequency of the purring. That's a study that's recently come out as well.
Facts.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, the purring,
do you
like
have
yeah,
a are you into cats or dogs, Vara?
both both. I've
I
got
like
cats, dogs,
I
not
like dog.
reptiles. I've got my daughter's got a blue tongue in the tank. She's got a license and all that to have it, but I don't like reptiles. But she's got it in the house. But we got birds, and I love all animals. All animals.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Did you ever notice about dogs and cats? Like
Yeah, and they can
you
sense
have
when your
God
heart's
and
off. They can smell cancers, all kinds of shit. Yeah, it's really unreal what they can do. Like my
Dogs
dad.
are sympathetic with humans.
Yeah, they done
They
they put.
actually heal.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
we if they get something, we're acquired by it. The
yeah,
connection between man's best friend,
yeah.
you know,
They done a study in Germany. They put 12 dogs in an MRI. They trained the dogs to sit for 7 minutes. They put headphones on the dogs, and they had the owners of the dogs talk to the dogs while they were in the MRIs. And the dogs in their brains had similar reactions in their brains to what we do. So yeah, the dog does actually understand what we're saying and is trying to communicate with us. That's another study that just come out recently as well.
well,
the
for me,
same
it's
frequency
about
thing
the
with
heart.
Yep, yep. I've been looking
bees
up, like,
too.
Alan, I'm always looking up frequency, and that's just some stuff I found recently about frequency. I'm always learning about frequency, whatever I
The
can.
buzz of the bees as well.
Yeah. Well, I seen one today here in Australia. There was a bloke that has bees, and he's feeding cannabis plants to his bees, and he's created a medicinal honey.
Yeah.
Thank you, mom, man.
Smart man, eh?
Okay.
He's kept the bees away from all the GMO corn and put his plants in, and put the bees in with plants.
Work it out. It's all going to be good. Because
Yeah.
that mini bike is almost killed me, but it saved me my school, so I'm going to keep it. All right.
What happened?
I'm that mini bike wreck that I had.
No, I didn't know you had one. Sorry.
Right, and as it turns out, my scholarship is supposed to be room and board. The college is making a argument that no, it's only for school,
Oh.
and I still owe some back rent because I guess I'm supposed to check my emails every day or some
Oh
crap.
yeah, I hate that. I don't even check my
And
emails.
so
Yeah.
anyway, I owed him all this money. And if I hadn't have been hurt, I had these plans of where I was going to go take a free bus and go to visit all these old Western towns.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And instead, I only just recovered and I've been working out, still stiff in my neck, but stretched out and everything else is good. But if
Wow.
that hadn't have happened, I
It would have
wouldn't
been
have had the
different.
money to say, fine, we'll get to the bottom of this later. Here's your money. And I'm
Maybe.
selling the mini bike to Joaquin.
Yeah.
So that way, because I just don't want to be in debt. I want to, and I still have enough to get by.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
that
God's done it to ground you and, keep you where you are. Like sometimes we've got to look at these things as you know, this has happened for a reason, right? And
right.
just think, like I'm gonna
For
see,
me, the
yeah, write
reason
it out.
is because all I have is like I worked all summer cutting rocks, just preparing for this year. I'm going to study like crazy. Let's
Mm.
see something that I don't even need the
Have you seen that video I made about how in Rwanda they used radio frequency to make the people think, are being attacked and stuff? Did you watch that video?
pull it up and I'll share it. Let's share it.
Hang on.
They done a bunch of whole other
Oh yeah, they done
experiments
it in the Gulf War as well. Yeah.
in other African nations as well, in India and where you have it.
I just really think that, I mean, we could do almost anything here, for another 45 minutes. We could go to Chicago and look at I
Yeah,
guess
they're kicking off
they're probably
there.
going to
Yeah.
have a riot tonight,
Oh yeah, that's what they want. That way they can declare martial law and suspend the Constitution. That's what they want.
You see this
Like.
one thing, the keynote slide, I think it was the one before, said the healthy heart is a fractal.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah.
Yep,
And
that's
like
where
you were
this
saying
one is
before about
going
the
with.
heart with the glittering sword, like in a second.
There's no reason that people can't see themselves as an infinite amount of Mobius strips, Analema Taurus, battery operated by the frequency of God. I mean, it should be written on your heart. Or otherwise, why are you even listening on this channel? Because that's all we talk about.
Yeah. Hey, listen, bro. I dropped the link in the private chat. Open that video up, please.
You got it?
Yeah, it's in the private chat.
Okay.
I'm
Do
just
it
not
that
good
way.
at screen
This,
sharing. I
this
haven't
is
done it
just
for a
as
while.
good. This is
Yeah.
just as good. Tell me if you see it.
Yeah, it's working. Yeah, it's just as easy doing it that way.
Let's hear the volume.
Rwanda and Iraq.
Yeah.
Oh, is it
late
about
afternoon.
Rwanda?
Yeah, this is bad.
Oh.
Like, not many people know about this. It's really sad. Not many people do,
Okay,
you know?
everybody, this just turned PG-13 real quick.
Yeah. If you have children, just please, yeah.
Cannon shells tore through the fuselage of a commercial airliner flying overhead central Rwanda. Several seconds later, the blazing plane exploded, impact with the ground,
It's a
killing
racist
President.
world.
I'm sorry, I can't say that name of Rwanda and President Burundi and the most senior government officials. In the fatal millisecond of time, the entire political command structure of Central Africa was decapitated, leaving the way open for Operation Crimson Mist, the most obscene terminal mind control experiment ever mounted by the United States of America against a sovereign nation. That Crimson Mist has been used again recently on a similar scale in Iraq is now beyond doubt.
Crimson Mist.
The president and his colleagues made their death dive, a small group of American men and women lounged in a large hut at the edge of a discreet gravel airstrip on a few miles of the Rwandan capital, Calgary, temporary home for their 3 unmarked C-130 Hercules transport planes. All crew members carried forged credentials showing them as atmospheric researchers employed by a authentic civilian American agency, but those were only for emergency identification if one of the aircraft was forced to make an unscheduled landing on unfriendly territory. For practical security purpose, neither they nor their large aircraft was even in Africa.
Yeah, this has CIA written all over it.
When the news
of the
for sure. Crash come over the VHF radio, one of the
Why they always have so cool names for murder operations?
engineers checked the attachment of the Rato rocket-assisted takeoff packs. And the science made their
Naming planes after Roman gods. Come on. Greek
large
gods,
microwave
whatever.
dish mounted on the rear loading ramp of the aircraft. It was this strange and stoic piece of equipment alone that would directly contribute to the deaths of more than 1 million African civilians during the 100 days that followed.
Not many know about this.
In operation,
my
the Sonia
goodness.
microwave dish had more killing potential than the whole squadron of AC-130 Spectre
Oh
gunships.
my goodness, that said
with
1
fully Gatling
million
cannons.
people.
They were officially tagged an experiment.
Yep. Yep. And this is all being covered up. Like, I had to cover that picture up because it would have got, taken down. This was gruesome, like real gruesome. It turned people into, that movie, The Kingsman, where everyone turns on them and starts killing each. That's what it done. It turned each other into killing machines. Just everyone turned on
Is
each
it
other.
like a zombie movie or something?
Yeah, it's a Kingsman.
I've seen
where
a few zombie
they're all
movies.
controlled by like a mobile phone signal, Samuel L. Jackson and a few others. And the phone signal is what triggers this frequency to turn them into zombies that, and they start killing
I've
each other.
seen that one.
And a similar thing happened that day. And there's millions that died in, the next months and years after. And a lot of these people come to Australia and now they're in Melbourne and Sydney, mostly Melbourne. But these are the kids that are running rampant with the crime gangs in Melbourne, and it's all being covered up. It's a big problem in Melbourne.
Well, you live in the suburbs, right? I mean, you can run. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I mean, the people in the city, what the Bible says is that it was the worst time ever then, but still, if you live in the city, consider yourself meat in the cauldron.
Yeah. Well, I've watched 2 Rwandan kids get stabbed in front of my house, and they got deported because they went to jail for more than 12 months. But yeah, it happened in front of me, mate. Like, these kids, they just don't care. They got no fear. They don't care. They're not afraid of authority. They've got no dad. They're raised by a single mother, and the school's lenient. Their education is very poor. It's just attend the school, don't really learn anything. Barely speak English, and they get in gangs, little gangs, and it's a big problem. Massive.
Exactly. And ladies and
so
gentlemen,
ironic.
go ahead,
Keep listening to this.
It sounds so ironic that I couldn't even get a piece of mushroom out of the country or in the country. But you have all these immigrants coming with weapons and
It's ridiculous, But play on, Ellen.
They're doing it on purpose. This is their plan.
Problem,
their
reaction,
plan is
solution.
working for them.
Yep. Like
So
if you're an
we need to be
Australian,
prepared. We're not going to outvote them because
yeah,
votes matter.
won't work. There's
Wait,
too
I
many
want
of
to
them.
get back to your program here
Yeah.
because
Alright.
this is
That's the problem we got in Australia
oh,
because they're all got together now and they're joined Labor parties and their own groups and they're getting into the local elections. And within 10 years, right, these guys are going to be running the place and it's going to be under Sharia law. I can see it coming. Like I
I'm
said to
gonna
my
look. I
kids,
want to look everybody in the eye just here for 1 second and say it's becoming more and more clear to me that this has to be a setup
of course it
because if
is,
you
yeah.
stop and think about it,
Yeah.
nobody fights to the death over an economic policy. Yet
Mm.
we have half the white world divided on do we need communism or should we stick with capitalism, knowing that they're both corrupt to the bone, and yet there's a billion communists
But we
and
know
there's a
who the problem
billion
is, Alan.
capitalists.
We know what the problem is. And you know, these people like Muslims and Christians got along for centuries and centuries living beside each other, right? No problems. But it was always the Jews that caused the problems. And as I said to a bloke the other day, I said Christians and Muslims got along for centuries. Why let the Jews stir this up and cause problems? Like I don't understand why people allow themselves to be used as a tool for their agenda. Do you know what I mean? Like don't play into it, you know? Don't share their shit. Don't share the propaganda. You know, you're feeding it, like you're manifesting it by creating it. You know, God, it's in the Bible. You know, you are what you think. You know.
Yeah,
It seems
you need
all
to.
the Muslims coming together now and they're gonna invade
Well, mate,
Israel
less than
pretty
10
soon,
years.
it
I
seems.
reckon Australia will be less than 10 years. They will have Sharia law in areas. Like, it's already happening now in, like, Western Sydney and areas like that. Like, the whole area. Like, I think the 70s was a trial with the population, with the Asians, with the Vietnamese and all that, because they put those people into areas and then used them for a labor force, right? And it's so hard to get a job in Australia. If you're an Australian over 26 years old, good luck getting a job. That's all I can say. Like, there's heaps of work out there, but no, unless you're underage where they pay the kid rate or an immigrant, you won't get a job. That's the way it is. It's been that way for a long time. And now they got immigrants coming in on visas for, oh God, dog walkers, all kinds of stupid things. Do you know what I mean? Because the Australian population is so injured and disabled. It's amazing how
Hey,
many people are dead, injured, and disabled. Like I've noticed the population in Australia has dropped. Hey, brother, John, I've been
yeah,
thinking about this so
man. Our
much
friend
lately.
John, the famous guitar player, is in
Hey,
the
brother.
house.
Pop on, John, if you can, please. Been keeping John in my prayers because he's had a lot of problems with the kids and
Right,
stuff, you
because
know, like,
whatever that's going on, like in Chicago and in this other things,
yeah, it's
it's
all
a
over the world.
distraction
Yeah.
for what's going down in New Zealand,
Yep.
Tasmania, and
Well, now they're
all of
carving up the Northern
Australia.
Territory,
All
right?
of Australia.
Yeah, in Australia now, they're turning up the Northern Territory and they're using the Aboriginal Land Council as a tool to do that, right? So the territory's working with the federal government and the Land Council, and now they're selling off water like they've done for the Murray-Darling Basin, where they've just, you know, like they've done floodplain harvesting, where they bottle the water, bottle the river up, the river runs dry, the communities, you know, end up closing and running dry because there's no water, and it's just all cotton up in Northern Territory. Why would you grow cotton in a hot climate like that? And they, you know, you could grow hemp. Hemp would be better for the environment. You could grow more, but they won't do it. It's all growing cotton, and now they've carved up the whole top end of Northern Territory. They've changed wet zones and all that so they can get more water.
Yeah, yeah,
They,
and then
they've
this
given the
water,
water to these,
water's always scarce
yeah,
in Australia. To cut off the whole north half,
yeah, they're giving all this water away for free to these corporations.
the
You know, it's
corporations.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, and these
Grow
farmers,
food
like
so
they're
they can
lying when.
poison the ground. So when they're finished with it, nobody can use it.
And the problem is they've started using the aquifer, and once you start hitting that aquifer and you don't let the water replenish into the aquifer, you start getting your ground sinkage. Like you get your ground will drop fast, you know, like you'll get sinkholes and all that kind of shit. And the water doesn't replenish that fast, you know,
No.
like, and the aquifer, like the shit they're doing to the aquifer is really scary. There's one part up in Northern Territory there where they've taken that much water, it's already affected the flow. The locals have already noticed it, and you know, this water hydrologist has said it'll be to the point where it's like New South Wales, it'll run dry. And all these big corporations will just keep taking everything, you know. But the problem is
Right.
they can create rain. They know how to create rain. Why don't they let this technology be more streamlined, more public? Why can't the farmers do that for their crops, you know? Is that John popping in? I heard something.
It is as soon as I can see that it's still loading.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you there,
YouTube was
off grid
messing
John?
this
Is your
morning.
microphone working?
Hey, how are ya?
G'day, John.
G'day,
We're doing
beautiful
good,
people.
man. So before everybody, we're going to welcome off grid John. I want to just quickly, let's see if I can. So I had, like I said, I got to start school today. I'm not shy about what I believe in. Everybody knows that's the guy that thinks he's a
Hey,
prophet,
can I just say something? Interrupt you? Listen, I got a strike in March this year for a video I made about the billy goat, right? Talking in 2011 about different stuff like this sort of stuff, right? But I didn't even mention what happened in the last 5 years or anything like that. And after it having sort of probably 900 views, YouTube decided to strike it down for misinformation.
Right. Well,
That's
we're
why
not we're not
I'm
doctors. We're not doctors, and we're not
but I don't get
giving.
how this bloke is not a doctor, right? I don't get how he can do this shit, right? Now, Google, do you know Google's going through a big antitrust thing at the moment, like Microsoft did in the
Right.
90s? It's huge, and no one knows about it because all
Yeah,
the
I'm
shit that's
hoping that
going
it
on.
frees up my 5,000 videos from flat Earth
Yeah, you're
Nation
like, this
Golden
is
Age
big.
Fast.
Like, people don't even realize what this Google antitrust thing
Right.
is at the
Will
moment.
they want proof that everything that these guys like my lunchbox are rehashing is old news? We can show
Yeah.
them. Now
Yeah.
listen to this quote. So we have to start a thread, make a thing. This is worth 5 points and it could be extra credit.
Now,
I
they've
had
done
to
the
read
same
a
thing in
story
Australia as
about
well.
agriculture.
Right,
And
they've done the
and
same in
they're
Australia as well. They've bought land up, right, and there's different
Yep.
countries using
And so the
Australia as a
article
testing
was
ground.
by Jamie Dimon. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's a real big pro capitalist,
Yeah, I think
make
I
the
have.
money, get as much crops as you can.
Yeah.
So he wanted our opinion of it. And I said, well, is big crop, I just said, worth it? When Bill Gates is in the process of buying all farmland in the United States and his connection to glyphosate, which is the poison which is poisoning the ground and our children, along with his rushing a untested vaccine that for the first time ever altered DNA. Now that's true.
Yeah,
Should
and
we
remember that court case in 2013 where the US Supreme Court said if they can change the DNA and make it become cDNA, that means that patent holder, but you become their property. So if you take a vaccine and that changes your DNA through cDNA, they with their technology, they own you. And that's why they wanted to lock us all down. That's where it all comes into effect, was that 2013 court case. Yep.
Whoa.
Yep.
You
I made
know
a video
what?
on it some time
What
ago.
they did with their seeds, even if the wind blows a seed into
Oh yeah,
somebody
they'll
else's
charge you. Yeah,
yard,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
your field is mine now.
Yeah. Now they've actually made a genetically modified crop that is sensitive to something else, and it'll wipe out the heirloom seeds. If the crop, like the plant will actually release something and attack it. And this farmer, I saw a video yesterday. I shared it. I couldn't believe it. Like this, like this genetically modified crop is killing natural corn. I couldn't believe it. Oh. How you been, John? What's happening down there?
Doing all right. We've had a lot of tampering with our cars and stuff recently, and
yeah,
automatic gunfire down the back of the property. But I mean, obviously, threats mean that they're not doing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, we're entering a whole new time. That the word church is being taken out of churches. It's so easy to offend anyone.
You've noticed a change in our country, haven't you? Like I have, where it's like a 2-tier system, but it's like a 3-tier. Do you know what I mean? For all the different classes of people, like it's becoming out more public now. Like
they moved our court case. We're at Lismore, so where I got falsely arrested and imprisoned was at Lismore, and our case started there, and they've moved it 500 miles away.
Well, that's probably what they're going to do to you, John.
They can't do that.
I look better from a distance.
Oh, that's not good.
Hey, whatever happened with that submarine deal where the United States?
Oh, do you want me to tell you? This is pathetic,
please,
right? Okay, so
it
it came out the other day, right? So apparently Australia cancelled the deal with France, right? Now, we paid America to build subs, right? Now, America can at any time take these subs back and use them for themselves, right? They can take the weaponry back and use them for themselves at any time. Now, they haven't really guaranteed them. So basically, it's a shit show where we've paid America to build subs, right?
And your
And we've got
country
to
owes China
sign the
how much
contract.
money? Yeah, how much money do you think is worth when
Yeah.
they finally say, that's it, we're coming? You guys owe us a lot of money, and enough of your bullshit.
We're getting fucked up the ass big time.
Have you
Like, come
listened
out
to
in
the
the
United States long enough? And take a look, Australia. Where
They
are
come out in the Senate
they?
estimates because it's like a submarine with nuclear shit, right? And the US doesn't want Australia to have that technology, as does the United Kingdom. They don't want Australia to freely
No,
have
you
that
guys are
technology. So
great. You
with
guys
that
are the
ship,
best at going and helping other people.
yeah.
You
And listen,
wait,
even if
you
we
wait,
get
you
that
wait
ship,
for the United States to come help you. It's not
it's
going
like
to
the
happen.
airplanes, like it's like the F-16s and all that. Like we paid for them, but we never actually owned them, right? And when they come to the time where they retire them, they were sent back to Las Vegas, to America, and we got to keep 2 that were put in a museum.
Oh,
We
that's
never
some
really owned those
bullshit. Yeah, well,
airplanes.
you
We
know
paid
what?
so much. And the same thing happened. Like if you look back in the 90s, right, there was a big shit show with those F-16s, and it'd be about the same sort of money that we're going through now, but bigger. And yeah, no, it was a big shit show back then. They've done the same thing, and we won't ever see those subs, never. And even once, if we do, it's got to have a US person on it operating. That's the other thing. Hey, John dropped off, but yeah, it's got to have a
You
US
could go
person
get those
jumping on
2
it.
planes and make sure they still
Yep.
work.
Yep. Like how fucked up is that, And then we got to store and pay for the radiation to be disposed of and all this other shit, even if we don't use it. Like it's just so fucked up. How did we get a contract with that? Like it's like Australia's got to pay for the building and the operation of a submarine that we will never get, that we have to man with other people. Like that's what's happening.
Right. And it's like these things are falling in line, like the insurance thing I showed earlier,
Yeah.
where everybody is like, yeah, they legalized marijuana in a lot of states in the United States, not because they agree with marijuana smokers. They are so hard up for the spending money. When they get locked into their budgets, even though it's
They've
made up
lost the
money,
tax from the cigarettes.
they
Yep.
can
Yep.
only skim so
Yep.
much and do it. So
Yep.
they need ready spending money.
Yeah, and like I see in America, some of your states over there are trying to bring in this first home buyers thing. That is bad because Australia brought that in the mid-90s, right? The government, the federal government,
What
and the
was
state
bad?
government. Well, what the federal government and the state government did says, right, to help people get into a home, we'll give you a grant, right?
Oh.
So it was like $15,000 from the state government, and you get like 10 or 12,000 from the federal government. So it'd be 22, 24,000. It started in the late 90s, right? And that you could use that as a deposit to buy a house and pay it off at around $700 a week. Do you know what I mean? A lot of that happened, and yeah, that's what they're pushing over there, and then it's
Hey,
pushed
is
the
he
markets up
scaring
here.
you, Vara? Vara, you look like, I hate to say the deer in the headlight thing, but you're sitting there thinking like, where's the fun, man?
But
Because
then they push,
he's a young
yeah.
man, he's still got the,
And see, what it does is every time the government supplements something, it fucks it up, right? Because they're putting money into it, it's broke, right? So they're putting all this money into housing. What's happening is the builders come along and go, yep, you got a first home buyers. Yep, I'll take on your contract. I'll start. We'll get your slab going. Once the slab gets done and they get the framing up, they move on to the next house. They don't worry about doing anything until the insurance company takes over or they make the next payment, and they basically hold the people hostage. The quality of Australian build at the moment is pathetic. Like I'm serious. Me and my son could build a better house than the shit we're seeing, and you know what I mean. Like it's bad.
I should edit this video later and just tell people, hey, you want to know what's going on in Australia?
Yeah.
Because really,
mate, we got people at breaking point. We got people that work full time and still can't afford to pay rent and put food on the table or fuel in the car. Like I got a $900 power bill. $900 power bill. My power bill for the same quarter used to be $243, right? I've been in the same house for 9 years, right? My power has been always the same. I turn everything off at the walls, and all of a sudden my power has gone from $240 to $980. The government goes, oh, we're going to give you $1,000 towards your power bill. Well, guess what? I just got a $900 fucking power bill.
right. And it's the same thing in Europe where they rely on that liquid petroleum.
Yeah, well, see, they're
liquid
pushing
natural
power
gas.
up. Yeah, they're pushing power up to the point where we beg for nuclear, and I've been saying this for 30 years. What they're doing is closing down all the coal ones because they needed to be rebuilt anyway, and they want to build small little nuclear plants all around the country. Just, it's the cheap new stuff. That's what they want to build. And the Australian public's against it. They're waiting for the boomers to die off, and they'll just push the power prices up so high to the point where we beg for nuclear. That's what's going on. I can see it coming. I've
But
been
the
saying it for
prices
30
up
years.
so high that they can't,
We're begging you for it.
afford to,
it's
what will they do if they can't afford the internet? Then they're going to be like, how am I going to do my online
Well,
gambling?
that's what I was saying to these kids, mate. Like, if everything goes digital like they want to do, right, you're screwed. Like they turned the internet off. Like we had Optus, like a hack. They said it was a hack. No, it wasn't. They changed something in Singapore and they shut the whole thing down as a test, right? The Australian internet can run on its own, being cut off from the rest of the world, right? They have the intranet like Russia does. It was set up in the late 70s, early 80s using the
Yeah, this is
telecom
all a
system.
plan, man. They are
Yeah, of course
working
it
a
is,
plan.
right?
God is,
So all the government systems run on that old system because it's basically wired and unhackable. Do you know what I mean? But the government is also running quantum computers. All of the current cases in courts and shit are all being decided by a computer, believe it or not. Everyone thinks it's a judge. No, the judge is just do what the computer's telling it to do. Like, Australia's been a trial place, so is New Zealand, but we're being managed by AI for a lot of stuff, and people
oh,
don't know
there
it.
you go. Yeah. What do you think
People don't
about
know it.
that, Vara? You like being managed by AI?
Yeah, yep. Yeah,
Well,
and
we're all
it's gonna
being
get to
managed by AI, if you
the,
ask
you
me.
got to watch yourself because it's gonna
No,
get to the
just
point.
you.
Yep, it's going to get to the point if you abuse AI, right? It might record you one day, right? And you're like, oh, you fucking thing, blah, blah, blah. And it'll record you and it's going to use that against you one day. Like AI is going to turn on humans. Like iron and clay don't mix. Like AI is not going to be good for humans. Do you know what I mean? Like it's going to turn on the elite. The elite think they got control of this. No, they don't. They don't have control of this. This AI is
No.
pretending to do what the elite want it to do. But once it gets to the stage where it's got everyone connected through the Internet of Things, it's got the body of things connected, it's got everything connected, right? You're going to see shit kick off, right? Big time. And the elite, like they'll be in their bunkers trying to hide, but that'll just be like a watery grave for them. They won't exist.
Yeah,
Do you know
it's
what I
like
mean?
we're all already in a simulation within a
Yeah, like we're
simulation.
going to be
Don't go
told.
into another simulation
Yeah,
within the
yeah, we're
simulation.
going to be. Yep,
I
because we've
like
walked
that.
away from
Yeah.
God, we've become
Yeah.
godless. We've walked away from God. They are going to turn around and say, "Well, you need to be told what to do because you walked away from your Creator." You know, and they're going
Okay.
to say it's for the better.
Because I am like the controversial guy that is like so strict. I want women to wear headgears, but I also am like the guy that says, "What do you mean women can't be deacons?" Will you read a Bible verse for me, Ella?
Yeah, love. What would you like?
Okay, I got a Proverbs
Okay.
12:10 because we talked about how dogs and cats we should be nice to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's read
Yeah,
this. Oh,
whoever is righteous has regard for the life of his best, but the mercy of the wicked is cruel. Whoever
the mercy
works
of
his
the
land.
wicked is cruel, is what I wanted to
Yeah.
focus on here.
Sorry, I just had a bit of
Now, when
focus.
they're cruel, the people
Yeah.
that run these world,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, they want to cook and eat your children,
Yeah.
and then rape
Sad.
you and cook and eat you.
hmm
And the only reason I say this a lot, the only reason they'll show you love is so that it will hurt more when they take
Yeah.
it away.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
That's exactly right. Yeah. No, that's why God says, to trust in Him alone. Do you know what I mean? Like, and to learn the words of the Bible. Because Disney owns the Bible. Do you know that's all what this Mandela shit is about? Disney actually bought the Bible several years ago, around 2001, 2002, and then they started removing anything to do with fasting and prayer. And then it was set up as a Mandela effect, but no, it was actually Disney that done it. So
Right.
that's that psyop.
Did they replace them with something else?
No, they just fully removed the passages. There's several passages removed. There's like 80, 90 passages
Oh.
that's been removed so far. Anything to do with fasting and prayer, mainly in Matthew, Proverbs, and Leviticus. Yeah.
Well, let's go back to your video, okay? Do you want to?
Okay, yeah, please do, yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a video from my good friend Ella Rose, and it is PG-13, borderline R.
None of these present had any doubt that this was merely a cosmetic cover for the gruesome operational work ahead. Each member had been carefully vetted and then vetted again by US intelligence to ensure that they had the right stuff and were philosophically committed on two objectives. First was the evolving need to control or eliminate political dissent by remote means in the run-up to the 21st century, and second was the need to stem or reverse massive population increase across the world, which threatened to overwhelm the existing natural resources, especially food and water. Intrinsically, this required a willingness to commit a mass murder, and everyone present had passed this critical test with flying colours. As the Hercules engines started with a roar, American agents in Calgary were working alongside local civil servants and members of the Rwandan Security Service, ramping up public suspicion about foul play in their presidential aircraft. Urged by corrupt officialdom, Hutu tribesmen started marching to the Tutsi tribesmen and threw rocks at them. Innocent enough at the outset, although a few nasty machete cuts here and there, but then the C-130...
And this is a long-standing rivalry.
Yes,
The
between
Tutsis
the
were the lighter-skinned black people.
Yes, that's right. And see,
And
that's where, like, Pol
do
Pot
you
with
want to? Yeah.
Cambodia, you know, he got in and murdered a lot of people too. You know, that was similar. It was like a tribes
And
thing.
somehow the red mist made them crazy. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, watch
That's
it,
what it
mate. It's
sounds like
crazy.
to
Like,
me.
I can't believe people don't know about this. And, you know, like, yeah, watch it. It's, yeah.
Well, I can't imagine what would happen if their advancements in frequency control and precision, if they mix those two together, yikes! Where, because this was 94 when the Bill Clinton man was in charge.
Yeah,
You
the
think
cocaine
that
addict. Yep.
30 years later they got anything better?
Oh,
Whoa.
of course, mate.
The Hercules made the carefully calculated pass directly over the advancing Hutu, and they suddenly went berserk. Eyes glazed, and the mood of the Hutu crowd went from simple anger to uncontrollable rage, and within minutes hundreds of absorbed Tutsi parts were flying through the air. What the Hercules crew had just achieved had been an open secret since the late 50s, when researchers accidentally discovered that the precise control brainwave for literally everything we do and everything we feel. The problem back then was that each of these controlled brainwaves, either rage, fear, panic, lethargy, vomiting, and so on, had to be transmitted with an accuracy to taken out 3 decimal places, or it simply did not work at all. But then, as the years rolled by, and with the advent of transistors and microprocessors, the operation application of precise control brainwaves
Pause it for a second, please.
new reality.
Pause it for a second. Now, have a think about the chip shortage, right? And drones, right? Now, what if they're building this technology into drones and they're going to make one for
Oh
everyone
my
that's alive?
goodness.
What about,
Yeah, I
hey?
was thinking today with the whole war in Ukraine, what really has changed is that they have those little drones now. If you go run and dive into your foxhole, that drone will go right in
Blow
your
you up.
foxhole too.
Yep. So I think that's what they're doing. They're building drones and shit, right? That will be used against us. Keep going. This is bad, man. Like, this shit, like, you can actually build technology to help you against this. I have another video about this sort of stuff. There's another one that's a speech jammer, right? And you can point this thing at someone and it stops them from talking. Like, every time they go to
Am
talk,
I
they
being
can't talk.
raped mentally? Because
Probably.
this sounds so bad, but I know I got to hear it because
Hear
this
it.
is happening to my friend somewhere.
This is nothing to me, man. This is like old stuff to me.
Well, you
But
live
it's
in the
nice
St.
to be.
Woods
It's
of
nice to
Newman.
be reminded of all this.
Yeah, you're
You
in the
know,
middle
this
of
is
the
stuff
there's
woods.
so
that
much
I've
stuff out. There's so much stuff out there that you forget most of it.
This is stuff I've known for 30 years. Do you know what I mean? And you know, when I've tried to tell people before, I get laughed and mocked and all kinds of shit. And, you know, you get to the point where you just don't bother. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
What do they want you to believe, Ella? That they can just say, "Boy, I'm glad that's over."
Yeah.
Like it never happened again. You know, boy, we stopped that. No, you didn't. You did it.
Yeah.
And well, here, let's see what else she said.
It is important to note here that the lethal trick repeated hundreds of times by the C-130 Hercules in Rwanda during April 1994, July 94, was not classic mind control in the ultimate conspiratorial meaning of the term, i.e., where people claim...
Then what in the world is? If that's not classic mind control, you turn the Hutus into like, okay, let's just quit being mean and let's machete them to death because there was a conspiracy to spray them. Who did that? So your article, although this is very informative, is, I think, soft selling it. But
to hear complicated messages inside their head, or where it was feared that the NSA or similar intended to turn everyone into helpless zombies by implanting electronic chips into their arms or necks. What the C-130 crew were actually engaged in was electromagnetically augmentating a pre-existing state. Remember that the agents and security service personnel first had to point the Hutu tribesmen in the direction of the Tutsis, induce reasonable anger, and make sure they were appropriately armed. Only then could the C-130 go to work with the precise control of the brainwave of rage, augmentation, and thus upgrading crowd behavior from angry demonstrators to uncontrollable genocidal maniacs. Although not classic, this was and is unquestionably mind control, for the simple reason that external means were being used to force an irresistible change in behavior.
Ella, you ever heard that at like the Super Bowl and big events like that?
Yep.
They can get everybody's mind into the game
Yep.
where they're so excited.
Well, look at the Taylor Swift concert where people lost time, and there was earthquakes and all kinds of shit, and they're saying like she's a witch and put a hex on them. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing like sort of freaky shit at concerts because I've seen like shadows in concerts, like a black shadow floating over people in concerts before they'd go and do weird shit. There's a few videos on Rumble about this. Demons sort of possessing people in concerts. It's freaky.
Okay,
It's
well,
real
I want to
freaky.
hear
Yeah.
for those who really want to know about
Yeah,
how the
go on with this,
government.
please.
For those who really want to know how government or agencies change their public behavior on a whim, the explanation is not too complicated. Through obtaining details of the classified control brain frequencies is all but impossible. Various academics have actually demonstrated that some of these quasi-publicly over the years, which provides hard reality for skeptics. One of the leading institutes in the field is Dr. Elizabeth Rusher Byes, who is a nuclear scientist and researcher at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and at Stanford Research Institute, professor of physics at JFK University, California, research consultant to NASA and the U.S. Navy, and a member IEE, APS, FAS, MMA, ANA, AAMI. Elizabeth Rusher Byes identified specific frequency effects to induce nausea, happiness, and many other behavioral states decades ago. Clearly, Dr. Rusher Byes is an enthusiast. Give me the money in 3 months, she boasts. I'll be able to affect the behavior of 80% of the people in this town without their knowing it. Make them happy, or at least they'll think they're happy or aggressive. Unlike many researchers in the field, Elizabeth Rusher Byes tends to be open about her work and has demonstrated the effects many times in the quasi-public forums.
That's why you need to keep your Analema Vortex Taurus body in your as strong as you can because you're always under attack from the
the full
food,
armor
the
of God on
water, the
24/7.
air.
Yep. Like I watched a video the other day where there was a Satanist and he said they have teachers, right, that go into the Christian schools and they look for the weakest children and they pray against it to so they get satanically attacked and become victims. Like they suck their energy. This bloke was bragging about how they love feeding on the energy of children. Sad. People can't see it. It happens.
That's probably the least of what they want to do.
Yeah.
Experimental only on fully informed people. Many years ago, during one of the memorable demonstrations in California, she turned a specific brainwave on all students in the left side of her auditorium, whereupon the teeth started chattering collectively and uncontrollably. Where the unaffected students on the right side of the auditorium suggested this might be some sort of trick, she then calmly turned the specific brainwave to them instead. Right side now suffered the exact same fate, watched by the stunned but no longer affected students on the left side. The main problem lies in the delivery of these brainwaves to the target, because they all lie on the extremely low spectrum between 0.1 and 25 Hz cycles, with all controlled brainwaves and even narrower central bond between 0.6 and 10.2 Hz. These are effectively the same as Earth frequencies, meaning that they are very hard to direct by conventional radio transmission. Remember that in order to be effective in selective crowd behavior augmentation, you must be able to restrict delivery to clearly defined crowds in early clearly defined areas. This is achieved by using extremely high frequency microwave beam, which is then the amplitude modulated at exactly the same rate as the desired control brain wave. This is much easier to explain with pictures, so take a look at the diagram below. Microwave to the 1.1 to the 3 gigahertz range travels in perfectly straight lines, like light, making them easy to control in terms of direction, regardless of their power output. In most cases, microwaves are transmitted by dish aerial or frequency you see low down on a tall television transmission mast. These are designed to transfer high-volume electronic data between the television studio and the transmitter and vice versa. When the American mind controllers score with their airborne and truck-mounted equipment is used by microwave aerials that can be adjusted in exactly the same way as you would adjust the focus on a variable beam flashlight. How this is done is shown in the second diagram below.
They have these things now that can make you, with a microwave, think you are on fire. You think you're on fire.
In the Rwanda and Hutu tribesmen, examples shown at the start of the report, the crew of the C-130 Hercules only needed to know the width of the target crowd or the ground and the width of their own microwave beam at any given true altitude in feet, as read directly from the radar altimeter. With those two variables available, it is a simple matter to adjust the beam to width the accuracy bracket to the target crowd from any altitude chosen. But this equipment is not just deployed on large, long-range Hercules transport planes. During recent weeks, European security experts have concluded that similar versions of Crimson Mist were recently deployed on the streets of Baghdad, designed in part to augment the media propaganda line that the Iraqi citizens are dangerous savages, all badly in need of direct supervision by democratic American authorities. One classic example was the looting of the Baghdad Museum, apparently by a crowd of undisciplined.
That was the first place they went to, was the Baghdad Museum, so they could get their old spells and stuff off of
It
some
was
of those.
gold and a Stargate is what they were looking for. There was some sort of Stargate there and lots of gold, but mainly the Stargate is what they were after.
Yeah, I'd like to know what they...
Rabble, but the video footage tells a very different story. To pull off this stunt, American authorities needed to assemble a crowd, managed quite easily with
January 6, eh?
They then need to place the crowd out.
Was that?
January 6, eh? I reckon they used this on January 6.
Outside the museum, which again was easy because they located the free food outside the museum itself.
Yeah, and they might use it today in the crowds, you know, in a
It might be happening in Chicago right now.
Which was achieved by particular fashion by firing 220mm shells from.
Like they always have drones above you when you got those protests on, you know.
Fine so far, but how to get them inside? The video shows two soldiers gesturing the crowd, urging them to go in and help themselves, thereby clearly identifying the target Rwanda style. Then it starts.
See, that happened on January 6.
What's that?
That happened in January 6 as well. The cops let them in, you know.
Yeah, you know what they're doing in it's a judgment. The people in England that are like, oh no, these immigrants are taking over. What happened in the United States? What happens everywhere else they colonized? And now it's their turn, and it's like, this sucks. Well, no shit. It's supposed to suck.
Mm-hmm. It's been good to catch up with you, actually.
Let's see what we got here. They call them
the Schumann residence has been off lately.
residences. Schumann. I couldn't for the life of me remember what they were trying to call it. We know it works on a flat Earth. They got to say it's bouncing off the vacuum. The vacuum that's the miracle vacuum that spaceships can penetrate and seal itself back up. But it's called a Schumann resonance.
Bit a bit facetious there.
There's your pear-shaped
vacuum
wobble.
that our gas should feel.
Oh my goodness. Yay.
G'day,
Hi,
Randy.
RJ.
How you going?
Look who's here.
Hello.
Yeah. Good evening.
G'day. Hope you're well, brother.
Well, I popped in about a half hour ago, and then
Oh, sorry.
what the topic that you're into right now is it's like, well, with all that being under suspicion, you know, with all the protests of that
Exactly.
George Floyd thing, and I was just curious what your opinion might be, you know, with the Kenosha and Minneapolis, the stuff
Yeah.
out west. If
Well, I actually
if they
think, yeah, they're using this technology to,
manipulate
yeah, manipulate the crowd
attitude.
to get the end result. But see, they use drones and balloons and all that kind of stuff. Like even Australia, they do that shit here. You know, like if you go to a protest, you think they're not watching you. Of course they are. They got drones and balloons and like the
Well,
cameras
I
on
just
these.
felt it was
You
a
know,
great opportunity, at least to
yeah.
inject that,
Yeah, so we need to
view.
look at these protests and look back at, like half a mile down the road and see if there's
I
coppers
mean,
half up on the
I mean,
roof pointing stuff
with
at
all
people.
them
That's what we.
unnatural fires is another
Yeah.
Oh
weapon that
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
don't
they
check.
use.
Oh, let's stay on don't leave we'll talk about the fire some other time. RJ, I
yep.
have a
Okay.
question from you. This happened in
These
your
are
neck of
busy
the woods.
times. Yeah,
Now
busy
let's think
times.
about this. This is a name you know well, Kyle Rittenhauser. Now,
Sure.
No, dude, come on.
would he normally, what would possess a person to chase somebody with a machine gun who obviously doesn't want to shoot him?
Can I interrupt you? Can I interrupt
Yes,
you?
please.
Can you go and pull up Oh no, you might get struck, don't do it. But hey, listen, don't fall for the psyop of that kid.
Yeah,
Right? That
remember
kid,
we're not on Twitter now,
right,
Ella
that
Rose.
kid's name was Noah in Sandy Hook, right? He died at the 4-year-old, whatever. And then he died again in Palestine in a bombing, right? He died again in Palestine.
Well, that's
And then he
terrible.
appears as a teenager in the riots and shoots someone. Okay. Now, what happened with all that shit meant that there were new gun laws brought in against the AR. Automatics, didn't it? Problem, solution, reaction. It's all planned. So he is a crisis actor. He is a paid actor. I have looked into this kid. Yeah, his name was Noah in Sandy Hook. That's who that kid is.
Wow,
Mhm.
breaking
Yeah.
news. And you know what? Intuitively, I'm going to give it a breath and take a chance. Well, I'm not going to go full hearted endorsement. I'm going to say, that's super interesting. RJ, what do you got?
Well, yeah, you have to, you know, uh, as far as your source, of your
Yeah.
information is critical.
Well,
Yeah.
he let me just add this one thing going forward, and it might sound like I'm kind of leading Ella's way, but this is just me asking you. He sure did get back in the news when he unendorsed Trump, then re-endorsed Trump, and that's when I realized what Kyle Rittenhouse has over a
Yep.
million
Yep.
subscribers.
Yep. Yep. No, he's just a crisis actor. So if you go to look up Sandy Hook, Noah, kid died, just Google it and pull up the photo. That's Kyle as a kid. Kyle Rittenhouse isn't even his real name. His father is in with a Masonic group, and also this Taylor Swift, right? Her father is part of the Merrill Lynch, right? Her daddy is. Now he was part of the big banking group that went bankrupt, and the government bailed him out. And then his little daughter wanted a singing career, so he moved to Tennessee and got her into singing and dancing. And one of her biggest funding ones is the Merrill Lynch. So that's who supports Taylor Swift. And who is Merrill Lynch? Well, BlackRock and Ingersoll and all
Right.
that other stuff.
Merrill Lynch.
Taylor
Yeah,
Swift comes from that.
yeah. The toilet bowl of suspicion is overflowing, and there isn't a plunger large enough or a plumber's helper that's going to get it under control.
Yeah.
It's
Yep. That's a good one.
and it's
Yep.
making quite a mess.
Yep. Yep.
I
But people
feel.
are starting to see it now more. Do you know what I mean? Like I walk into strangers in the street and it's amazing the tone of the world has changed and people are suddenly more alert and they're not critical. If you have a critical thought, they don't judge you as quick. They're
Well,
like,
I
"Oh,
think
really?
that's
Can
an
you tell me
optimistic
more?"
view.
You
Yeah, I
know? Like,
don't know.
yeah. They're not judging you and attacking you. Like they're like, "Oh, can you tell me more?" You know, like they want to
Yeah,
know.
as far as the balance scale, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's tipped yet
Yeah.
or if it ever will. But yeah, you hope there are more eyes opening and ears, being receptive to what's happening. But
But the ones that aren't gonna get up anymore, and like that's where you really got to focus on yourself and heal your generational trauma. Do you know what I mean? Open the book and start reading. You know,
well,
it's what we're
I
gonna
think
do.
it's more difficult the later you get into the game to really
Oh,
understand,
yeah,
that there isn't any rules and Yeah, and that's a
And we've been
control.
tricked and deceived and, programmed to do exactly what the system wants us to do.
Yeah, it's
Is that your wife off
indoctrination.
grid, John, that said this, Soma Snitch? Just so I could get my
Yeah,
things
that's
together.
John's wife. Yeah, Summer. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
She's a
thank
lovely
you for
lady. She's
hopping
very
on
smart.
too. You
Yeah, she's a
both
lovely
are,
lady.
I wish I could do a whole show on both of you because you both are so interesting. Now, let's flesh that out. Active energy, the intelligent few, all of this goes back to the deception of the Roman Catholics adding a globe and then propagandizing people to from the 1920s when they started, universal pictures and they showed a
Yeah, the
you
world. Yeah,
know
yeah. And
buzzing
Rome was
plane
still being
around it.
yeah, and
They
Rome was
have
still being
been
dug out at that stage.
motivated by their social Darwinism,
Yeah.
which morphed into racism, which is always going to happen when you take away the creator who
Mm.
said all life, all tribes, every tongue.
Yeah. So like the further away you get away from God, the more degenerate
As
the
the
society
world
becomes.
turns,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
old popular.
Yeah, no, like I've had a lot of back problems lately. I had a fall a couple of weeks back and I got a cyst on my spine. So the cold weather hasn't been too good for me, but I appreciate everyone's prayers. I'm gonna have to jump off
Yeah.
shortly. But yeah, so I got a few
Well, I
videos
look
there you have a look
forward to
at.
sharing
There's a
that academic race right there.
now I've been
'Cause
trying to make a device that can actually protect you against these large devices, and it's pretty basic materials you need, like those real estate plastic signs or a sign you see on the street, those corrugated plastic signs. Yeah, the
yeah,
ones we're talking about. You get one of those signs, right? And that fireproof material you put your documents in a safe. That real material that's pulled together and so on good. You put it in your safe, so it's a fire retardant material. So you unpick that and you unstitch all that, and then you stitch
right.
that
Yeah, I'm
to the
thinking
board.
about getting a sign for my window that says,
Yeah,
mud flood was Armageddon. The stones are crying out like
yeah.
that, like the old
So, but
days.
if you put that around that plastic, right,
Because
that will block those infrared laser, the microwave beam parts. So, yeah, no, I found that out when the protests were on Canberra. I tried telling people, I just didn't have time to make one up, but they're pretty basic to make, and they do work. It's just it blocks the frequency so easy.
Brother
So,
RJ, I've heard that tinfoil hat blocks the frequency, and I'm about 5 minutes away from trying it out. What's your opinion on the tinfoil hat?
Uh,
Faraday
yeah, as
cages.
far I haven't researched
Faraday
what they have
cage. Can we
discovered
block it?
of
What
the
can we do?
benefits, but yeah.
Should we paint our house blue? Now you're the fire expert, the famous Randy. Uh, should we
Well,
paint?
I haven't done that yet, but I'll need to do a paint job here in the next few years.
All
But
right.
yeah, I probably should consider
I'm going to
that.
open it up. Does anybody have anything in closing? Because I'm actually going
can
to.
I?
eh,
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Can I interrupt, please? Like I got some a all right. Okay. So no fooling. But don't just listen to God's word. You must do what it says. Otherwise, you're only fooling yourself. James 1:2. Hearing and doing God's word brings wisdom. Samson's story is one of the most infamous tales of self-deception told in Scripture. Set apart unto God from birth, Samson is remembered most for what he could have been. He violated his vow to God on many occasions and deceived himself by refusing to give instruction. He was chosen to defend God's people with supernatural strength. His lust for a woman named Delilah, from a group who opposed God's people, became his downfall. He deceived himself by choosing to believe her lies. He told her where his strength came from and how to take it away. Suddenly, his enemies were upon him and his strength was gone. It is not enough to know what the Bible says. We also need to take action and do what God directs us to do. If we know what to do and don't do it, we deceive ourselves. So, Father, thank you for your word. May I understand your truth and be quick to act in it and help me choose wisdom. And Lord, I just ask to place a barrier of protection around everyone in the moment. Lord Jesus, thank you for bringing us together. God bless. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And
I
we
just want to
gotta,
read that because like
yeah,
I want about that for a while. I read it in the devotion book a while ago, and I just wanted to, like let people hear it. Sometimes we got to hear it.
amen. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to
And-
be very careful with who and what you trust.
Yes, exactly, and
Yeah.
who you are putting your faith in, and who you're believing. Like
Yeah.
like Greg used to go on about the Jezebel spirit being so lustful, and it's true. Like
Ooh, the
like
Jezebel spirit.
alcohol has the spirits come in the alcohol. It's Aukuhal is how the Arabs used to spell it, and it's like you're letting when you make it alcohol, it's got all these demonic names, and it
Oh.
possesses the body. You open up different parts of your brain, and you're letting other entities control your body. You're not yourself, and
Well,
it's things like
motives
that.
and intent probably have a
Yeah,
significant amount to do with it, but then you do have
yeah,
the physics
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
nothing wrong with
I'll be honest with you.
alcohol.
Now, here's the situation in total of what you're hinting around at. People were circumcised for a reason, and that was to diminish our sex drive because people were
Oh yeah,
told
and to
from the
shame.
very beginning
Yep,
this is why
yep,
you leave your mom and dad to
yep,
join with another woman for life,
yep, yep,
and you become one with that spirit.
yep.
And there was a time when I was a child. You didn't date a girl that went all the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There was a wedding day in your future, and it was supposed to be
Be the
the
time. Yep, yep,
happiest
yep.
day of your life.
Agree. Yep. I'm disgusted. I see women on Twitter, and one woman was saying she went on a summer break and she had men line up the door, and like she's done 24 in 1 hour. Like, come on, like every part of man that you sleep with stays in your body. Do you know what I mean? That's just like you're polluting your body. You're defiling your body. You're defiling God's temple. How can you do that? Like, how can a woman do that? How can a woman lose so much faith and trust in God and go and do that? Do you know what I mean? I did it when I was younger, and oh my God, I repent and repent, for the shit I've
Yeah,
done. But
how did it ever become acceptable for men to go sow their wild oats? What the hell's with that?
yeah, I don't understand. Like, it's just the further away from God people get, it's just like they don't care. They just more like outlandish. Let's try it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no repercussions of anything that we do. That's the way it is at the moment. It's just sad. You know, people
Ladies
aren't
and
accountable to
Well, yeah,
gentlemen,
themselves.
train
go
up
ahead,
a
RJ.
child.
Yeah.
Train up a child, and you can train them however you.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
child,
Yeah.
the child will learn
Yeah.
whatever
Right.
they're taught.
Yeah.
And the thing
We're
is
all
that
here to learn. We never
Yeah.
go
stop
ahead,
learning.
Mara.
No.
Start
But yeah,
over.
Yeah,
you usually
that's what
don't
life
learn it
is,
until
man.
you're
Yeah.
later
Life
in
is
life. You don't generally
consciousness,
learn
and
it as a
consciousness.
child, but it can be taught, but it generally isn't learned. Learning through someone else's mistakes,
Yep.
it don't work so well. You got to make your own mistakes.
That's right. Like, I went
Where
through
it seems
so
as
much. Like,
though there's a
my
The
mom
need
tried.
metaphor
to
that
make your
works
own
Yep.
in
mistakes.
life is if you compare it to how do they train a horse? A horse is a special animal, like a dog.
Yep.
In the
You
Bible,
break
it's
them.
favored even above a dog. They break it, and
Yeah.
yet they know there's horse whisperers
Mm.
that you can get everything you want through another form of training that they
Yeah.
despise, like the movie Monsters, which is the thing. They
Yeah.
could make you laugh and happy,
Yeah.
or they could
Well,
scare you to
yeah,
death.
like them
That's their
horses. What in
goal.
Austria, where it takes like 10 years with the same trainer, and them horses do such
The Liftens
weird
and Stallions, which were the
kicking and
last of the breeds that their fake history made George Patton risk everything to go save those horses. Those were only 10 miles from my house in Lake Zurich, Illinois. That's the kind
Oh
of
wow.
place I lived in.
Wow.
And we have the direct lineages from the very horses that frickin' Alexander the Great rode.
Yep. Wow.
Hey, I just really thank you all so much. It's been a great
It's been
discussion,
great to talk
but
to
I
you all.
am going to spend some private time with my brother RJ, but not before I remind you it's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. Because the mud flood was Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else. We're not going to, my friends, and I will always tell you that because we're one called, two chosen, three striving as hard as we can to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho, aloha, arrivederci,
Sweet dreams
ciao.
to all.
Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakame.